Today I'm doing another squishy makeover. I got a giant mouse with pink bows and a koala in a teacup. As always, my squishy makeovers are inspired by Moriah Elizabeth. That's pretty much everything I wanted to say today. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started with the squishies. I wanted to do some bigger squishies. I recently did a couple big ones and I like how they stand out a bit more in the background. And they're just more fun to look at. So I ordered some more big squishies and here's one of them. It's a fat, ugly mouse with bow earrings and a very creepy eyes. I can see the eyes are supposed to be cute.
But it's not.
There's just something about them that doesn't sit right with me.
What's wrong with you?
He's holding a little cheese slice, all innocently, a little too innocently. Definitely not sinister enough, so I'll be helping him reach his full
Evil.
potential. First things first, he'll be needing some accessories, so I cut those out of memory foam. I chopped up a curved, cylindrical type shape, I don't know how else to describe it, and also a circular shape, or at least as circular as I could do with the memory foam. The thing with memory foam is that it's just so hard to get a perfect shape out of it. I just try to do the best I can. Anyway, now that I'm nice and frustrated because of the memory foam, this mouse looks like he could use a good sanding, so I let him have it. I then went through and stuck the bent cylinder and the attempted circle onto him. I did use hot glue to stick him on. I feel like hot glue used to be shunned at one point.
And then I'm just gonna use some hot glue to stick it on there.
You're not really supposed to use hot glue on squishies because every step of painting squishies is supposed to be as time consuming as possible.
But you know old Rarebabe doesn't have 24 hours to stare at a rubber banded fabric glue mess that's just gonna fall apart when I take the rubber band off anyways.
So yeah, I just stick to hot glue and it works perfectly fine. I honestly even feel like hot glue is becoming acceptable, even by sparkle butts around the globe, which makes me happy. If you're new here and you want to make me even happier, ew, you should consider selling your soul to me by subscribing to my channel and ringing that bell thing so you don't lose me on the internet. I post new videos
Every Friday.
And like I mentioned, memory foam is super textured, so I globbed on heaps and pounds of puffy paint to try and fill in all the little nooks and grannies. This is an attempt to make those parts look smooth. Not that it works, but that's the intention. It looks a bit wrinkly, but if you're not looking, you won't notice. I also added a bunch of puffy paint on his bow earrings. They look like spiky bows right now, but it's actually going to be fur by the end. My idea for this fat, ugly mouse is... My idea for this fat, ugly mouse is to turn it into a cute, eyeball-eating rat. The chubby one from the coloring book video I did. I saw this squishy and it made me think of the chubby one. I thought the shape was just perfect for it. He has a bite wound in his ear, so I'm just tearing that into him. I want to make him look as close as possible to the picture to capture his chaotic energy. I started off the painting process by enveloping everything in a layer of white. It helps the colors show up better and apparently also helps so you don't have to do as many layers of paint. I'm not sure if that second part is true. I spent a whole day just painting two squishies white, not even color, just plain white. It took countless layers upon layers upon layers. So I don't know if painting it white lowered the amount of layering. I can't attest to that. Sometimes I just skip the base coat since I'm not completely convinced. Today though, I decided to do the base coat. It just kinda depends on my mood and how rough of a day I'm
You just
having.
have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you can't get into it because they would never understand.
Once I got a million layers of white on the rat, I then started mixing up the gray for his fur. I tried to match it as best as I could to his original fur color. I really wanted to recreate him in squishy form as best as I could. I painted his face and legs gray and mostly left his center white for now. That's going to be his crop top and chubby belly. He's been eating a lot of eyeballs lately, so he might have even gained a few pounds since you last saw him. On the squishy, he doesn't have as big of a belly as he does in the drawing, so I wasn't able to show as much of the belly as I would have wanted. I then repainted the hat black. That's what this curved cylinder is supposed to be. I was trying to smooth it out a bit more. Didn't work. I'm starting to embrace the wrinkly beanie hat look. I also painted on the black boots. They're pretty tiny, but they're there.
Itty bitty booties.
Earlier I forgot to paint his hands gray, so I went back and did that. I wanted the ears to look more furry, so instead of the straight line I originally had, I painted on some little fuzzies. Now here's when I really went rogue and busted out the Posca pens. I'm using them to sketch out the stripes on his prison uniform. It's just easier than using fabric paint to sketch them out. If you look closely, they do crack a bit though, which is why you shouldn't use acrylic paint on Squishies. But I've noticed that if you go over the Posca with fabric paint and then let that dry, it works out pretty well and the cracks don't show up. His tail is pink of course, so I'm layering that on. On the Squishy, it just kinda wraps around him. I'm just keeping the same tail as the Squishy originally had. He's got this giant creepy smile. He really loves eating eyeballs, and I think his expression really shows that. He's got some buck teeth as well as other various crooked teeth. Dental hygiene really isn't a priority right now. I painted the whites of his eyes and gave him some eyebrows, and of course a big giant nose. To make the eyeball, I used some slick paint and just globbed it on there. He also has an exposed belly button on full display. That's the point of the crop top. He has these bright green eyes, so I painted those on there. His eyes match his smile. He's very, very excited about all the eyeballs he's collected. This eyeball's a fresh one. It still has blood all over, and since it's lunchtime, he's got some eyeball juice all around his mouth and everywhere. So next up is the koala in a teacup. She's still in her bag, but they did leave some breathing holes for her, so that's nice. I would say it's a koala tea squishy. Except for that it's all banged up. I did buy this one brand new at Target. It's not used and it wasn't sent to me. The chips in this teacup are all Target's fault. I just noticed them a bit too late. They were hard to see in the bag. But it's fine. I'll be adding a few more chips and defects of my own anyway. I cut off the handle and then it was her turn to play with sanding block. I'm not going to keep her as a koala, but I will say koalas are vicious, so they probably fit on the dark side as it is. We're claiming koalas for the dark side. They look all cute and stuff, but in reality they're little fuzzy demons. And this isn't me trying to be funny, they actually are monsters and will attack you. Here we go, I'm painting it white again. I'm also trying to fill in the cracks in his teacup. The attempt was made. I've done some characters in teacups before, but this time I didn't want to leave the teacup as a teacup. I just kinda wanted to turn it into something else, be more creative with it. I brainstormed quite a bit and then settled turning it into a beehive, and it's going to be a bear that broke into a beehive to steal some honey.
What did you think?
The beehive's Honey, not Boo Boo's boyfriend, whose name also happens to be Honey. I didn't want to make a boring looking brown bear. I've already kinda made that. So I'll be painting this one orange. I love the way this squishy turns out, but fair warning, it isn't neat.
There's a bit of a disaster happening before your eyes.
I would say it was intentional, but it wasn't. Despite that, I still think it works for whatever reason. I painted the beehive a very warm, deep yellow. I then sketched on his eyes and filled him in, and just started getting his general expression together. He's supposed to be kinda like a tough guy. He likes to stir up trouble.
He's a little punk.
I took some brown slick paint and sloppily globbed it onto the beehive to give it a kinda 3D messy beehive kinda look. It looks like a total mess, more so in real life than on camera. Though if you're sitting there thinking it looks like a mess, rest assured, I do too. But I think it works. It's supposed to be a beehive and beehives aren't really perfect. I then globbed on some yellow slick paint for the honey pretty much everywhere that I messed up, which was a lot of places. Just gonna drizzle some honey over all those mistakes. No one has to know. He also has some honey on his face. He's been enjoying his venture into the beehive he broke into. He's too tough to feel the stings on his butt. The honey was worth it. The whole time I was painting this, all I could think of was peanut butter, and I didn't know why, until it finally hit me that he looks like a Reese's peanut butter cup. So in honor of that, I've decided to name him Buttercup.
My name's Buttercup.
The rat looks even scarier in the dark underneath my blacklight. He's got some glowing eyes, which makes the whole squishy even more unsettling. Overall, I love how both of them turned out. They meet my expectations.
Buttercup wants to beat someone up. Oh no!
My name's Buttercup, and I'll beat you up.
Click on the top right or bottom left if you don't want me to give him your name.